Ladies and gentlemen, would you give it up for your friend and mine, our leader, and the next Prime Minister of Canada, the Honourable Andrew Scheer.
Thanks, Ed. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much. Ed, thank you so much for that wonderful introduction. It is always good to be in British Columbia. And Ed is right, I am here with my family. Jill and 4 of our 5 kids are with us on this trip. Mary is about 2.5 years old right now, and we made the strategic decision to leave her with her grandmother as we decided that spending 4 days in a hotel in downtown Vancouver might not be the most conducive to fond memories of our trip. So we love her, we miss her, looking forward to seeing her come back, but we're having a great time with her back at Grandma's. And I gotta tell you, one of the things that I really enjoy about this position right now is it does allow me to visit every part of Canada. And I can say, you know, I love Saskatchewan. I live in Regina. Just out of curiosity, how many people here here tonight are either from Saskatchewan or their parents were from Saskatchewan when they moved out here? Oh my goodness, that's fantastic. This is why the Rough Riders play all their games as home games, because everywhere they go, Rider Nation comes out and supports them. And I sense I'm losing all the Lions fans in the crowd, so I'm going to quickly move back to safe ground like politics. But you know, I love Saskatchewan. I love living on the prairies. I love living in Western Canada, great people. But this job has allowed me to get out all over the country. I visited parts of New Brunswick, Nova Scotia. I've been to Gander, Newfoundland. I've been all throughout rural Quebec, Northern Ontario, all across, and of course, beautiful British Columbia. And I've been able to bring my kids along with me to a lot of these trips. And we're doing that for a couple reasons. On the one hand, I don't want to miss them. You know, it's tough to be away, miss important milestones, and I don't want to come back after 2 or 3 weeks on the road and have them, you know, grow another couple inches. And my son's voice has already gotten a lot deeper, and I don't want to miss out on those important moments in their childhood. But I also wanted to allow them to benefit from some of the things that I get to do, and I wanted to introduce Canada to them as well. And it's been going really well. It's good for them. I think it's going to help with their education. Last summer we were out on a boat off the coast of Prince Edward Island. And we had a lobster fisherman take us out explaining all the nuances about the lobster industry, how the quota system works, how their #1 cost is their fuel costs, and how they don't support a carbon tax that will increase their #1 input costs and threaten their livelihood. And I remember the look in my son Henry's eyes. He was about 6 years old at the time, as he looked out into the vast expanse of the Atlantic Ocean. And he looked up at me with these big, big, bright eyes, and he said, "Dad, this is the biggest lake I've ever seen." And that story has stuck with me. And he outdid himself when we were landing at the airport on Thursday, because as we were on the runway, he looked out the airplane window, and, you know, true kid from the prairies looked out and said, "Dad, those are the biggest hills I've ever seen." So if nothing else, my kids will get a great geography lesson from this position. But I want to say, I love coming to British Columbia for so many reasons. It's not just the reason why so many people have left other provinces to come here. Throughout the leadership campaign, I had the pleasure of visiting many communities, and we talked a lot, and I have spoken a lot since then about the importance of preserving all the things that made Canada great. You know, we can't take it for granted. Why have people come here from all around the world for generation after generation? It's because of the type of society that we offer. It's because of the type of economy, because of the type of opportunities that exist. And there's nothing that we can take for granted. Because as we can see in so many other countries, we can lose that very quickly. We can lose that in the course of 1 or 2 generations if we don't fight to preserve it. And I would always use the example all across the country that nobody ever moved to Canada for the weather. And then I gave that speech in January in British Columbia. And I had some people look at me and say, well, maybe here we did. But it's true. We have a government in office today that thinks that all the things that make us wonderful, a beacon of shining hope to those around the world for over 151 years, is somehow automatically going to be there for the next generation. And they're squandering that opportunity that we're able to provide, not just people here who live here, whose parents have lived here, but those who want to come here in the future. They're taking it for granted. Not only are they taking it for granted, but they deny it exists. Justin Trudeau actually said that there's no such thing as a Canadian identity. Conservatives know that there is a strong Canadian identity, and we will fight to preserve, protect it, and pass it on to the next generation of Canadians. I can't tell you how often I sit across the way from the Prime Minister as he focuses and apologizes for things in the past. He looks back in our past with almost like he's ashamed to be Canadian. And we had a moment in the House of Commons where we were celebrating Canada's 150th anniversary of the first parliamentary sitting. And I challenged the Prime Minister, I challenged the parliamentarians. I said, yes, of course, as we look back in Canada's history, there are things that we would do differently now. And we have built the type of society that has even more freedom and more equality and more opportunities than there were in the past. But we cannot deny that at any point along that history, there is nowhere else in the world that we would rather have been than Canada. Every single time, in every single example, Canada has always led the way on being that beacon of hope for those around the world. And we should celebrate that. We should celebrate that. We should be proud of our history, proud of all the things that we have accomplished. But we have a lot of reasons to be worried. A lot of reasons to be worried, but a lot of reasons to be optimistic. I'm worried about our deficits, ladies and gentlemen. I'm worried about the fact that we have a government that is borrowing $18 billion a year from the next generation of Canadians. That is not something that people come to Canada for. In fact, if you think about a common value that unites all Canadians, whether our family has been here for multiple generations or whether we've arrived more recently, it's the idea that this generation works hard so that the next generation has it even better off. Parents today will scrimp and save and find ways to put money aside and maybe try to go an extra year without a new car or get a few extra months out of a suit so they can make sure that their kids have the means to get after-school tutoring or extracurricular activities, or put money aside for their college fund. I don't think there's any one person in the audience today, or one person that you meet as you go about your place of work or in your neighborhood, that would leave their kids with a credit card bill for their spending. And that is exactly what Justin Trudeau's doing. It is intergenerational injustice, and Conservatives will stop it. We have a lot of reasons to be worried. We know, we hear everywhere we go, more and more Canadians are concerned about the cost of living. And they want a government that's constantly looking for a way to give them a break. And what they have right now is a government that wakes up every morning thinking of ways to raise taxes, to increase the cost of living. The Prime Minister, Justin Trudeau, was actually in British Columbia, and he got the question about the high cost of gasoline. I think at the time it was about $1.38 a liter. I passed by a station in downtown Vancouver, it was $1.53 a liter. That is a real bite to hardworking Canadians and families. That is a real impact, a very negative impact. And Justin Trudeau's response was to say that high gas prices are exactly what we want. We know that that is not what hardworking Canadian families want. That may be something that wealthy Liberals want, but Conservatives want to fight to lower the cost of living, and we will fight against those higher taxes that make gasoline more expensive. And you know, the left likes to pretend that they have a monopoly on compassion. They lead with this all the time. They talk about all the people that they want to help, but we know that their policies hurt the very people that they want to help. And nowhere is this more obvious to me than what the Liberals have allowed to happen at our borders. Because, ladies and gentlemen, there is nothing compassionate, there is nothing fair in allowing over 26,000 people to enter into Canada illegally from a safe place like upstate New York. I've been to upstate New York. It's very safe. You're not being persecuted for your race or your religion or your background. Meanwhile, there are legitimate refugees in dangerous places who can't leave the camps because they'd be killed or persecuted. And they have to wait longer because this government is allowing people to jump the line and skip the queue. There's nothing compassionate about allowing that to happen. And the Minister of Immigration had the audacity to attack someone who is questioning and criticizing this practice. Over a year and a half, and this government has done nothing to secure our borders and bring in a more orderly and compassionate immigration system. And that minister had the audacity to say that anyone who was raising questions about this was just being un-Canadian. It's somehow un-Canadian to ask a question about how our immigration system has gotten to the point where people can cross over illegally without any type of plan. Conservatives have been calling on this government to bring forward a plan to bring our system back under control so that it can be there to help the world's most vulnerable. And Conservatives will continue to ask the tough questions no matter how much Justin Trudeau and his immigration minister doesn't like it. We had a great meeting today in Surrey talking about gangs and gun violence in our communities. Let me tell you something, ladies and gentlemen. There is nothing compassionate about a justice system that puts the rights of criminals ahead of the rights of honest families and Canadians. Everyone around that table agreed on many things. We all agreed on the need for prevention. We all agreed on the need to have programs and tools available to prevent young people from turning to a life of crime. We all agreed that there needs to be resources there for families, for community centers, for programming to make sure that once involved in an organization like that, there's the ability to get people out of it and turn away from a life of crime. And we also all agreed that all that work will never amount to anything if repeat and dangerous offenders are always allowed to re-enter the society, communities, re-enter the schools, and continue to prey on those vulnerable people. Conservatives will make sure that people who choose to do evil consistently face the consequences for their actions. That is an essential part of having a compassionate justice system. Now, those are all the reasons why we're concerned. But I want to tell you why I'm also so optimistic. You know, when I came to British Columbia last year, it was a few weeks after the leadership race was over. And I want to thank everyone for the warm welcome I received. We had a great competitive leadership race. At one point, there were 16 candidates running to be the leader of the party. And through that process, we increased the membership of this party from around 75,000 people to over 250,000 members. And my challenge to the membership, to the caucus, to our MPs, and to the other candidates who ran for leadership, I said, look at what we accomplished while we were competing against each other. Now imagine what we can accomplish all working together. And they have answered that call. We have held this government to account for the past year, and we are winning. We have stayed true to our conservative message. We have fought against higher taxes. We have fought for a tax system that rewards hard work and doesn't demonize people who start a business to create opportunities, who want to pass that family farm or the family business on to the next generation of Canadians. We've held the government to account for their ethical lapses. We've been calling for a plan to deal with the immigration system and the illegal border crossings in Quebec. We've stood up for responsible resource development that gets Canada a fair price for their energy products and not just continuing to allow protesters to hold up those important projects. You know, Conservatives believe in responsible resource development. There's nowhere in the world that has the standards that we have to responsibly develop and market our natural resources. And I have no problem working together with people who want to address legitimate concerns to protect our environment. But people who just want to use those concerns as an excuse to say no, to block, to prevent Canadian resources from reaching the world market, I don't have time for that. And I also point out the hypocrisy, because I see lots of them dangling from bridges here in British Columbia, tying themselves to trees and laying down in front of bulldozers, blocking Canadian exports of energy. I don't see them up and down the St. Lawrence protesting against the tanker after tanker of foreign oil coming from places like Saudi Arabia or Algeria, countries with terrible human rights records and no environmental concerns. And that is the message that we've been taking all across the country. And I got to tell you, by staying true to that conservative message, we're not just winning in the polls, we're not just winning in fundraising, and thank you to everyone who's ever donated to the Conservative Party, either locally or nationally, thank you. We out-fundraised the Liberals by almost 2-to-1 last quarter. But we're winning in the place that it matters the most, the ballot box. We just won a by-election in Quebec that we hadn't won since 1997 by staying true to our conservative messages and bringing it forward to the people of Canada in a positive way that shows how it will benefit their lives. That's how we're going to win in British Columbia as well. So I want to challenge all of you here tonight. I want to thank you for your service to the party. Thank you so much for being here. If you've ever licked an envelope, if you've ever put up a lawn sign, if you've ever given a friend or a neighbor or a family member a ride to the polls to support your local candidate, I want to thank you for that. And I want to ask you to do it again. We're going to need your help in 2019. The Liberals have a terrible structure for their own party. They don't have much of an organization. They don't raise a lot of money. They don't have a large network of grassroots organization like we have on our side. But they have a lot of things we don't have. They have a media that gives them the bounce every single time. They have well-funded third-party organizations that accept foreign funding and go out and advocate for Liberal candidates in every riding in this country. So we need you to work harder than you've ever worked before. We know we can win when we work together. I want to thank every British Columbia riding for helping out with that by-election in Quebec. I've just been told today that British Columbia answered the call and helped out our candidate there, our hardworking candidate, and a great part of our success there was thanks to the generosity of the very people in the audience here tonight. So thank you for that. My commitment to you is I'm going to work as hard as I can, and we will have a strategy here for British Columbia to win these seats back. We can't form a government in 2019 without winning these seats back in British Columbia. I know Brad's going to work hard. I know our nominated candidates are going to work hard. I know our incumbent MPs are going to work hard. And I can assure you that all of us working together, helping each other out across the country, bringing that positive conservative message about how conservative principles actually lift people out of poverty. Conservative principles actually benefit the people that the Liberals claim to help. It's conservative principles that stand up to our fundamental freedoms and liberties that have made this country so great. You know, the Liberals talk a good game on this, but when it comes to actually protecting our rights and our freedoms, they actually do the exact opposite of what they say. You only need to look at the summer jobs attestation when you can see the example of the hypocrisy of this Liberal government. Conservatives believe that every charter right is important, including freedom of religion and freedom of belief. So those are the values and the principles we're fighting with. I know I can count on you to join the fight and keep fighting on the way you have in the past. And all of us working together, we can make sure that we can form a majority government in 2019 that brings back fiscal responsibility, ensures that the next generation will have it even better than ourselves, and stand up for those fundamental freedoms and values that have made Canada the greatest country on earth. Thanks very much, everyone. It's been a real pleasure.